I'm Richard Weil, and I'm the principal and owner of National Restaurant Consultants, and we welcome you into the NRC Helpful Moment, and it's our 179th broadcast. Hard to believe that many, but it's wonderful that we continue to have so many people follow us, and we get great comments on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn, and our website. So thank you all. As usual, joining us today is Mr. Brian Devine from Top Line Management CafeFuel, back from his 2 week stint on the East Coast, which is where he hails from.
Yes,
And
indeed.
did you have a good time, Brian?
Oh, we had a great time. Yeah.
Great.
Driving in
Great.
an RV is pretty fun.
Yes, I bet it was fun with the whole family, right?
Yep. Yeah, even
Great.
with the 14-year-old, which is crazy.
Even with a 14-year-old. Well, joining us on the NRC Helpful Moment today is Sandy Clark, our senior consultant, who lives in Centennial, Colorado, but she has a wealth of knowledge and is going to impart some of that knowledge on us today. We haven't had a supply chain update, but we've started to see a few maybe positive things going on and some things maybe not so positive. So, Sandy, if you would please take it away.
Richard, that's absolutely right. There's both good and bad going on right now. So, a quick look at the worldview. I know that we are all wondering if China will have a retaliation that will impact supply chain. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But right now, Shanghai is shipping to the West Coast after being closed down for COVID. And the West Coast ports had really gotten pretty caught up. They were doing 80% better than they did at the very worst time, but are starting to back up a little bit now that the pent up product is coming from China. And the good news there is that during that time that they got caught up, rates for shipping containers from Asia went way down from the historic highs. So we'll all see that reflected in cost of goods. Another good thing, on Monday, Ukraine started shipping grain, and their first load went out. And we think grain, we think only wheat. Their first load was actually corn. And these loads are about 30,000 tons, and they have about 16 of them ready to go. While that will be very helpful, that's only about 40% of what Ukraine shipped in the grain world last year. So it won't take care of everything, but it's sure better than nothing. We have a worldwide potato shortage. So who would have thought the largest potato producer in the world is China? We think of them for rice. And it's been going on now for a little more than a year. And 50% of our potatoes come from the Pacific Northwest. And that has been greatly stressed with drought. And so we're starting to see some of the frozen potato producers putting distributors on allocation. And so we'll need to work through that. Brazil is the #1 sugar grower and exporter in the world. And as energy prices have skyrocketed, they have taken a lot of their sugar production to ethanol. And so we're going to see sugar prices and all those mixes and everything that sugar is in go up in price some. Paper and plastics, you're getting used to it now. It's just really expensive. Resin is still short, but Ukraine pops in there again. So Ukraine, for countries like Germany, Finland, a lot of that middle Europe, provided 50% of their paper and cardboard. And that production has just been stopped completely. And so Europe is actually in a crisis with that. And we may see some of that reflect back to us. So turkeys are in short supply. There's only 25% less in cold storage than there was last year. Wow. And so we're expecting holidays for turkey to be short and expensive, and for people to move to ham, and that'll drive the pork market up. So watch for both of those. And now, as we're in prime canning season, aluminum is short. And now there's no World War worldwide shortage of aluminum, but it has to be processed. And during COVID, we all went out and stocked up on canned goods, way more than we did before. And so we're going to see that impact the canning this year. You know, we're hearing more from farmers around the world who are protesting the green energy impact on what they do, the higher cost of fuel, fertilizer with less nitrogen in it, and you know, just a lot more worldwide protests that they can't afford to provide what they provide with the challenges that they have. But I thought I'd end with some nerdy fun protein facts. So you're seeing in the news right now that the beef producers are culling their herds earlier than they usually do, and they aren't replacing with as many heifers as they do. So to take a cow to market, a steer, is 18 to 22 months. And so when the ranchers do this, there is a long-term impact on the cost of beef and the supply of beef and the quality of beef. But I thought I'd talk about feed and breeding and science in our herds. So in 1965, there was 375 pounds usable to harvest from every cow. Today, there's 640, 70% more. And so more and more that we are doing more with fewer animals. So chickens usually recover the fastest, 6 to 7 weeks. This was in 1925. It took 112 days to get to an average of 2.5 pounds to take to market. And today, in 48 days, with the science, the breeding, the food, it's 48 days to 6.2. To get a chicken laying eggs reliably is 6 months. And then we talked about turkeys being short. They've been hit hard with the avian flu. But for a hen, it's 14 weeks. For a tom, it's 18 weeks. So even turkeys take a while to get to market. Hogs are 6 months. Today's hogs have 30% less fat than they did in the 1960s. Wow. Some think that hogs have gotten too lean, and we're seeing a move back to breeds like Duroc and Berkshire, but that leanness actually allows them to have usable meat 60% more than they did then in 1960. So just some things about how long it takes the different major poultry to get to market. So you look at that and it is easy to see how once they get behind, they're behind for a while. And beef is really the critical one that we'll be dealing with now for the next 2 to 3 years, being expensive and scarce.
Well, you are a plethora of information, and I don't call that anything but good trivia. That's great. So Sandy, that's not a lot of great information, but certainly we might also see some freight things with the price of gasoline coming down, that diesel may follow at some point, and maybe we'll get more truckers willing to go back on the road to haul goods and services. So that would be great. So Brian, I really got to just pivot to you. I mean, this is it's facts.
Yep.
It's where we're at. I'm not sure from a marketing standpoint what you'd say besides punt.
You know what? While I was listening to all that, it really got me thinking about sort of foundational things for restaurants. And obviously your supply, getting the food that you need in order to make it and serve people, that's the foundation. And one of the things that we talk about at CafeFuel is the 9-step system we have to take you from kind of where you are now to having a steady flow of new customers and bringing customers back. And our foundation, the first 3 things that we have to do and we have to look at are your website, your reputation online, and your social media. And so what I want you to do is, now that you've taken some time and you've heard about the supply chain, what's working, what's not, what issues you have, take some time to now look at your foundation outside of the food part, but look at your marketing side and really look at your website. Does it need to be freshened up? Is it more than 5 years old? Have you put new pictures on it recently? Have you updated your specials? Like, just get back to your website and then look at it on your phone and make sure that it is easy to read. And if you're like me, take your glasses off and see if you can still read it. Because if you can't, trust me, people like me don't travel with their glasses as much as they should. So I can't read it. And that's not good, right? So make sure that you're thinking about your foundational pieces of your marketing. So that's your website, your reputation. Don't leave that up for grabs, right? Don't just hope that people say nice things. Have a system for asking for feedback, right? People love to give their opinion and their feedback. Asking for a review is hard to get, but asking for feedback and opinions, easy. People love to do it. So make sure you have a way to get those reviews and market those reviews. Don't just get them, right? Use those to elevate how people see your restaurant. And then the last is your social media, where we are at this point now where if you are not active on social media, and I mean posting at least once a day, you're in trouble. And we actually recommend at least 2, sometimes 3 times a day if you have good content to put out and you really need people to see it. So if you post like once or twice a week or even 3 or 4 times a week, very few people will see that content. So at the very least, take the same things that you're posting in the morning, post it again in the afternoon, because chances of the same person seeing it, the same content in the same day, pretty close to 0 with how Facebook works. Okay, so just take some time, look at the foundational parts of your marketing, your website, your reputation, and your social media, and then that will help kind of springboard you to all the other fun stuff, which is getting more people to come in, getting the same people to come back more often. Like, all of those things are what everyone wants to talk about, but you have to have that foundation in place, just like you have to have the supply chain. You have to have your food coming in order to have an active restaurant. You have to have this foundation in your marketing in order to do all the fun stuff. So that's what I wanted to cover today. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you just, want to talk about anything unique or different, we've got all kinds of fun stuff going on these days.
And don't forget, when you look at your website, you talk about being relevant and active and correct. You got to make sure it's ADA compliant too.
Yeah.
Make sure it's ADA compliant. We don't want anybody getting into a regulatory issue in terms of your website. So if you need help, I'm sure by now maybe you can run that our website real quick across the bottom, Brian. I know you have it handy.
I do.
The message today is the supply chain is there. It's real. We are experts. We have experts like Sandy in our midst. And obviously, Brian, regarding the website, social media, or your active campaigns on Facebook, it's really important, folks. Things are difficult still. We're not out of the woods by any means. Things are difficult. We talk to people all over the country every day. So that's it for the NRC Helpful Moment 178. Sandy Clark, thank you as always. Appreciate you being here, Brian Devine. So long for now, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody. It won't play. There it goes.